Hi and welcome to the Resources Roadhouse. I'm Wally Graham and today I am joined by Stewart McDonald. Now, many of you will know Stewart from Vertical Events and RIU, the company that brings you the Explorers Conference every year and Sydney Resources Roundup, two very big conferences on the calendar year. But now, Stewart, we're talking to you as Mr. Resource Connect Asia. You're heading up to Singapore in a couple of weeks to host the Future Facing Commodities Conference up there. Can you tell us a bit about the initial idea of doing a conference like this up in Singapore?
Well, firstly, Wally, thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure to come onto the Roadhouse. Singapore, yeah, so I guess a couple of years ago, a big fund that's based in Singapore called Tribeca, and I hooked up and touched base and had a glass of lemonade, and we just spoke about the resource market in Singapore in terms of the EV revolution, critical minerals, decarbonisation and all those sort of things. And Tribeca thought it might be a good idea to introduce Singapore to that world. I guess Asia has had some smaller conferences over the journey. They've had a very big one in Hong Kong many years ago called Minds and Money, which I'm sure most people of our age would know. But of course, in the last 5 or 6 years, Hong Kong's changed. The owners of Minds and Money have changed. There was a vacancy, so I think Tribeca thought it was a good chance to fill that vacancy. So we've pinched their time slot, and now we're in year 2.
And it's an interesting idea to take it up to Singapore because before we came on air, we were talking about it. And Singapore, they're not a natural resources or ASX resources focused investment community. So bringing this to them is basically bringing a whole new idea for them and a new explanation of where they can invest.
Quite right, Wally. And we've given ourselves a 5-year plan. So Tribeca, along with Argonaut and North Point Equities, we've all got together and we decided that it's an education process as well as a conference. But the aim is by the year 5 is to have a well-rounded ASEAN conference that will include the investors from that part of the world, the family offices, the big instos. It would also include the regions and the companies and governments from those regions. And bring them all together in one time slot at one time. So there are 9 countries that make up the ASEAN group, and then the host, of course, is Singapore. So our aim is to, in time, make this into a diverse investment, government, conference about decarbonisation and about all those things that are topical at the moment.
Right, and across the conference, you've got a raft of keynote speakers who are going to present to delegates. There's also quite a lot of companies going up from Australia to present and exhibit as well. You've got a couple of other side shows as well as the actual conference. Can you fill us in on those?
Yeah, well, the conference itself is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And we have have 6 keynotes from UK and USA. I'll touch on those in a minute. We have 7 panel sessions because the panel sessions are more educational when you're talking about decarbonisation or you're talking about the lithium or the rare earths. We also have sponsored talks, and we have over 50 ASX companies and a few Canadian companies as well, and many, many delegates from the Asian region. But on the Monday night, we also have the Singapore Mining Club have their gold night. So we incorporate that into our show and have a giant cocktail party at the start of the show. So that way it gets the Singapore Mining Club involved, it gets gold involved. And then next day we flip over to Future Facing Commodities.
Okay, well, and as we were talking before, there's going to be quite an interesting array of keynote speakers throughout the week. Well, what else do we sort of expect in there, Stewart? I mean, that's quite a lot there is that you've already presented. It's going to be a chock-a-block 3 and a bit days. What else do we expect?
Well, I guess what we can expect is the continuing education process of the Singaporean investor. I mean, obviously, those that are in the business of being a fund manager or being an institutional investor already know, but the local brokers don't know. They don't know some of the smaller trading companies. Last year, I got them all together and we had a chat about a company called Azure. And of course, I've never heard of Azure. And at the time, Azure was 40 or 50 cents or thereabouts. And of course, we all know where that went. So that excites them a little bit. Also, the fact that some of the companies from last year have gone backwards as in their share price, as some have in the last few months because of the market. But these guys know the risks. They know that it's a risky business. But what it's trying to do is to give them an extra avenue for investment. Because up there, they invest in trusts, they invest in buildings, pretty boring sort of stuff. Safe, very safe, but somewhat boring. So I guess this gives them a little bit of excitement in their life where they can look in the paper every day and see what their shares have done.
Well, it sounds like there's going to be more to do in Singapore and that week than just sit at the raffles and drink Singapore slings. So we'll be able to sit down and have a really good look at the Australian resources sector, how it presents up there, and it sounds like it's going to be pretty good. All right, Stuart, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be up there. I'm going to cover it for the Resources Roadhouse. So I look forward to touching base, and you look forward to the flight up, basically.
All right, Wally, thanks very much.
Cheers.